It's been a while now since I sold my Fujifilm X100F camera, and at first I thought maybe I don't even need to buy another compact camera. As winter time came and the view outside the window didn't give much inspiration for photography, and I even thought that I can even go back to mobile photography. But then I remembered how nice it was taking pictures with Fujifilm camera, so I came to the conclusion that I need to decide which camera to buy instead. When it comes to X100F, I liked its compact size, image quality, high quality materials and design. These were not issues for me. The only problem I had with the camera was its fixed lens. So my next camera needs to be compact, have good image quality and have the ability to interchange lenses. Obviously, this camera is still meant to be for my hobby, so I have no intentions of switching from Fujifilm. Some may suggest looking at other brands and what they offer, but for me and my hobby of photography in my spare time, Fuji's film simulations are the main priority. And after some research, my choice came down to two cameras. So before making my final decision, I decided to take a closer look at the features and capabilities of both cameras. The first camera is the more minimalistic Fujifilm X-E4. Many people describe this camera as the X100V with interchangeable lenses. While the form factor is similar, I find the X-E4 to look a bit disproportional compared to X100. The X100 has many details on the front that fill the space nicely and make the camera look more pleasing. However, the lack of additional elements such as an optical viewfinder, flash and the viewfinder switch toggle on the X-E4 makes the front of the camera look plain. Additionally, I think that the lens on the X-E4 is more centered than on the X100, giving the camera a more square feel. Aside from that, the majority of the specs on both cameras will be similar or identical, except that you lose a few dials, compact fast lens with anti-filter and a flash compared to X100. The second choice for me would be the Fujifilm X-T30 Mark II. This camera is also compact, but it looks more like a miniature version of the X-T4 or X-T5. The front of the camera appears more detailed with the Fujifilm logo and the bump on the top that houses the internal flash. With this camera you also get a few more control dials compared to the X-E4. It also has a slightly longer battery life and slightly higher 4K video resolution. However, in exchange for that you lose the ability to use a flip-up screen like on the X-E4 due to the top bump with the flash. Can't remember now if there is something else that you lose picking X-T30 Mark II over X-E4. Both cameras has 26 megapixel APS-C sensor, X-Trans CMOS 4 processor, both have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connections for file transfer and remote control. Also, both cameras has touchscreen, face detection focus and one card slot. The prices for both camera bodies, at least in my area, are roughly the same, with the X-T30 Mark II only costing an extra 10 euros. From my research, I found that people tend to prefer the X-E4 over the X-T30 Mark II, mostly because of the design. The flat and minimalistic design is more attractive to people than the miniature version of the X-T4, even if you lose some control dials. And this is where something strange happens which I don't quite understand. But before that, let me know in the comments which camera you would prefer, the X-E4 or X-T30 Mark II, and why. So the strange thing for me with the X-E4 is that sure, I can agree that it's a beautiful camera, not comparing it to the X100, but judging it on its own, the X-E4 is a good looking camera, especially compared to its older versions. But I often see people who bought the X-E4 end up buying a thumb grip and even a front grip, and I can't understand why. People are buying minimalist design camera that they love and adore and then start putting attachments on them that make the camera less attractive. Seriously, if someone watching this video owns an X-E4 with front and back grips, can you tell me if you like the looks of your camera better with additional grips or without them? And my problem with understanding that is that people buy a camera and then end up paying extra on top to get additional grips, when they could buy an X-T30 XT30 Mark II that already has a thumb and a small front grip that you don't have to pay extra for, and you get additional control dials as well. Is it the flash bump and Fujifilm logo that forces people to buy a camera with less control dials and then pay extra for additional grips? Oh, and don't forget some miniature flash if you want to do some retro style photos. Isn't it supposed that people buying a Fujifilm camera should love the brand and not be ashamed of having it written on the camera? So after this research, I think that I am leaning more towards the XT30 Mark II, because it is almost identical in size as XE4, but also it has an additional front and back grips, rear dial, a shooting mode dial on top, focus control on the front and a built-in flash. I know it's not the kind of flash that you can be proud of, but in some cases it could be useful, like on the X100 cameras. At least it's nice to have an option and not have to consider buying an additional flash that you think you might use but end up never using. And the price for both cameras are almost the same, with the difference that buying XE4 you might also consider buying additional grips, as its minimalist design not always will be comfortable to hold, and I would like to avoid overspending on a camera accessories if it's possible. Please share your thoughts with me about both cameras. Do you have any of them? Do you like them? Is it a mistake that I am leaning towards XT30 Mark II over the XE4? I'm really curious to know what you think. Anyway, thanks for sticking around and listening to my thoughts. If you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing for my future videos. But for now, have a nice day and keep shooting!